Hey, what's up, masters? Welcome to another episode of the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast. And today we are with Jason Moss. Jason, what's going on, man?
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, David. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad you're here, man. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. I know you and I went back and forth a couple times, mistakes
It's
on
all
my
good.
part. So I'll take full responsibility, but I'm glad we were able to finally put it together. And today we're going to talk about marketing and why most of you listening to this podcast, entrepreneurs, are failing at it. But before we get there, I want to tell you a little bit about Jason. He is a multi six-figure business coach who helps other business owners scale with ethical, high integrity marketing strategies. So I love that. We'll have to talk more about the high integrity and ethical marketing strategies. He started his coaching business in 2016 with just $4,728 in revenue. He spent years refining what truly works. Now he leads a thriving global company. And this is what really caught my attention with over 1,000 clients, guys. And he scaled his own business to over 500,000 K a year. He's passionate about sustainable growth, and he empowers entrepreneurs to build profitable businesses that feel good and create a lasting impact. He lives in Boulder, Colorado, with his partner Kimberly and their dog Boomer and their cat Zola. Did I say Zola right? Is that right?
If you don't, my partner will be very upset with you. But yeah, you
All
nailed
right.
it.
Good. All right. Well, hey, man, thanks for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So we'll start and then we'll jump into it. But tell us how you got started. Why was it marketing? So you had $4,700 in your pocket. What made you say, okay, I'm gonna do some marketing with that money?
Well, my first real business, I was 13. Going back even before that, I was a big computer nerd growing up. I was like the kid who used to just lock himself in his room and like it was we had a big compact computer. I remember this big CRT monitor, and I used to just sit there for hours online. My dad would come in and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" And go take out the trash. And I was the kid who was just like obsessed with computers. And so one summer, I was a big like nerd. I used to play computer games a lot.
I was gonna call you a
And
nerd, but you called
yeah,
yourself
no,
it
it's fine.
first.
You
So
you can call me nerd because that's what I was.
yeah.
And so I used to play a lot of computer games. And I had one of the things that drove me crazy about playing these computer games was you always had to find the CD-ROM and put the CD in the computer in order to play the game. And if you didn't have the CD, you couldn't play the game. And the CD was always like in a couch cushion, in the corner or something. I'd have to spend 20 minutes hunting for the CD in order to play the game that I wanted. So one summer, I spent the summer coding this software program. I learned how to code, and I made this program that basically made it so it would trick the computer into thinking the CD was in the drive, so I could play my favorite games without having to hunt for the CDs. And after a couple months of building this and launching it, I decided to sell it online. So I asked my dad to go help me set up a payment processor because I was too young. I couldn't take credit cards, which was actually a very hard thing to do at that time. It was not as easy as it is today. And I'll never forget, David, that moment that I opened my inbox as a 13-year-old kid and saw that email, "You've made a sale." And from that moment, everything changed in my life. It was like I was hooked. There was such a dopamine rush from that moment. And it was also just this amazing thing of like, wow, I can make money as a kid without doing any real work. Because work to me seemed like I had to go like mow lawns or, I had to clean houses or take out trash. And the ability to connect with people on the other side of the world through this thing that I had created, through my words and through the power of the internet, that changed my life. And so that's carried me through for the past several decades of really learning and refining and growing. It's what, inspired me to start my first coaching business back in 2016 and teach at that time what I had learned, which was I studied music in college. And so I started a business teaching other musicians how to learn how to record their own music online and built that to 6 figures, and then became a director of sales and helped scale my own, one of my close friends' coaching businesses past multiple 7 figures, and then became a business coach. And basically, the thread through the beginning since I was 13 has always been this passion for using this incredible tool that we have, the internet, to be able to connect with other people and to learn how to use and harness and leverage these tools to sell, to be able to make an impact and to change other people's lives for the better through the work that we get to do.
Love it, man. Now, let me ask you this. Are there any like specific platforms you focus on? Are you like ads on like Google, Facebook? Like
I'll be
how do
honest.
you, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've used all of them. When I first got started, it was MySpace. That was,
MySpace?
when I was in high school, it was like I built because I just wanted people to
Oh,
hear
you
my
look a
music.
lot younger than I think you are, but it's
Yeah.
good.
I'm in my 30s. So when I was
Okay,
in
so
high
you're
school,
still
MySpace
pretty
was the
young.
big thing. Yeah, I'm still pretty young.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it was MySpace, then it was Facebook, then it was Instagram, then it was YouTube, then it was Facebook ads. So I'm a big believer that the platform is secondary to the message. It's like if David, if I wanted to have a conversation with you, I could call you up on the phone, I could send you an email, I could send you a text message. Would you really care how I reached out? Probably not. What you care is, what do I say when I actually have that conversation with you, when I send that email? So to me, I see a lot of entrepreneurs get very focused on that platform conversation. It's like, well, where should I show up and what's the best place to post? I'm like, you can get clients and grow your business any of these platforms. The most important thing is not the medium, it's the message. So what do you say in all of this content? How do you show up? How do you communicate in a way that's going to attract the people who want to work with you? So when you know how to do that well, you can show up anywhere and be successful.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that, that it is the message 100%. Although I feel like there are certain people or that you have to figure out the right medium to get in front of them. Otherwise, they'll never hear your message. Would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
Well, it's true that like there are certain platforms where people who might be your ideal clients are more likely to show up. Like if you're doing B2B, obviously LinkedIn is going to be the place to be. You're probably not going to find those people on TikTok, although there's probably a lot more of them than there were maybe 2-3 years ago.
Sure.
So there's definitely nuances in terms of being able to show up where your people are. But to be honest, most of these platforms today, I mean, they have such broad audiences that you can reach pretty much anyone on any one of these platforms. And I see the thing that really makes people successful is, the thing that is the barrier. If you don't have it in place, people are like, well, why is LinkedIn not working for me? Why is Facebook not working for me? I'm posting and posting and posting. I'm not getting traction. It's usually not because you're not on the right platform. It's much more likely to be that the thing that you're actually putting on those platforms is not effective. Your message isn't dialed in. You're not showing up in the way that you need to in order to get the leads or the clients that you want.
Yeah, pretend I'm your client now, okay? And I have a training and coaching company. And so I've got a workshop coming up. This is real. This is actually real scenario. April 9th and 10th, sales execution workshop, 2 days. And it really caters to small business owners who either they want to work on their sales process, get better at connecting, giving your demo, asking better questions in the qualification, and then follow up. Right, everybody needs more follow up. So how would you advise me? Like, where would we start if you like? I need to fill up this event.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple questions. I'm assuming you have an audience already. You've been posting content and showing up and building like some kind of presence.
Yeah, I do have an audience. I have a decent sized audience, but I'm actually looking to go outside of just my regular audience for this event. This event's happening live. It's happening downtown Worcester. There's hundreds of business owners that would benefit from this event. So
Okay.
from
Cool.
that lens, what do you think?
So tell me about the training. What do you feel like is unique about what you're presenting? What's the new opportunity or the new, like what's different about this?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a hands-on. So everybody that's going to come to the workshop is actually going to spend 2 days working, crafting their own message. As similar to what you were talking about, they're going to craft the message, and then they're going to put together the right question. So if they jump on a call with somebody, they're going to have the right questions that they would ask to determine if this person's the right fit and they can solve their problems. And then it's going to go right into how you're going to demonstrate based on what you took from those questions. And then it's going to give you some confident ways to close.
Cool.
and ask for the sale. And then if you don't get it, then we're going to give you a whole follow-up strategy. So it really is taking that whole 5-step sales process and break it. So the different thing about this is it's not a lecture. Everybody go in there is going to leave with literally a tool like, okay,
Yeah.
here's my sales process
Cool. So there's like a
specific to my
hands-on
business.
component. There's a hands-on
Absolutely.
component to this. So what
Yeah.
would you say is the number one problem that this workshop or this training is going to solve
Yeah,
for
great
your
question. It's going to solve, people's broken sales process. I think majority of sales don't happen because most salespeople aren't following up. So, and most salespeople don't follow up. Why? Is because they don't want to be pushy, or they're not sure what to say, or they just think the other person is interested. So we want to give them a process that makes it easy for them to follow up, and also create confidence for them when they do follow up. They know what to say, and they know how to say it.
So when you say broken sales process, what impact does that actually have on my business?
So the attendees that are implementing are seeing about a 70% or 30% increase in sales in 90 days or less, meaning
Okay,
they're
great.
getting more
So
effective at taking the customers they meet with and converting them into actual sales, or
okay. So there's a
not
measurable
customers, but
increase in terms of the sales. What about the
yeah,
pain point and
absolutely.
problem? Because you said broken sales process, but as a salesperson, I'm
Yeah,
probably not waking up in the morning saying, you know what,
yeah, got it.
my number one
Sure,
problem is my broken sales process. So
love it.
what do I see as the problem in front of me?
That's a great point you just made for all of our listeners to really understand what you just said, because you're right. People don't resonate with that, right? But what they do resonate with is, man, are you sick of people ghosting you? Are you
Yeah,
sick of having conversations with people and they say, call me back the next day, and then they don't take your call, right? And then you
great.
don't hear from them, and then you see them working with somebody else down the road. So those are the
Yeah.
real problems that we solve. So that's a great question you asked.
So out of everything you just said, that was the moment where on the other end, as I'm hearing that, I feel like you're now speaking to me. Like there's a
Mm,
feeling of like
yeah.
I feel seen and heard and understood because now you're talking about this in a way that meets me where I am. So we're kind of doing like a microcosm of what I would do with clients in terms of messaging. And hopefully there's some insights here just in walking through this. So so the first thing is I would say like clarifying the message, which is getting clear on whenever I'm promoting something, I'm looking at what's the A to B. This is the most important thing I think to understand about promoting anything, whether it's a training, a workshop, an offer, because people don't buy the training or the workshop or what you're doing, or even the hands-on type of thing that you were talking about. I think that's unique and different. But what they really buy is a transformation. What they buy is I'm
Mm,
at point A, which you just so beautifully described right now, which is people are ghosting me. I feel like I'm, working so hard, but like all these clients aren't closing. Maybe I'm not able to meet my quota. If I'm a salesperson, that's causing me stress. That's impacting my family. I'm not making enough money. That's creating all this tension in my life. That's the A. That's where they are today. And then the B is you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, right? Like sales going up 30%, I think you said be able to feel confident, like I have a process in place to be able to close more deals effectively. Like that's the outcome. That's
mm,
what people buy is that A to B. The thing in the middle is really just secondary. It's like the workshop
mm.
is secondary to that. So great messaging focuses on the A and it focuses on the B. It's where is this person today and where are they going to be after this experience? And then, by the way, there's this thing in the middle that we're doing for 3 days or whatever it is that's going to help you get there.
I love it.
Um, so the messaging is a big piece of this. And then, how do you actually promote it and talk about it? I think we start with your warm audience and I would just be posting about it. I'd also be like seeding it right now. Like when are you actually going live and with the offer?
Well, the offer's live. I mean, we already have
Okay.
a landing page up. Yeah, we have a few
Okay.
landing pages. I've got probably 15 people signed up right now, and so yeah,
And
it's
how long is the promo period? Like when does the cart close or when's the offer end?
uh, I did. Good question. The cart closes on April 8th, I guess, or April 9th, the morning of April 9th. People can still register if they want to walk in and register. Or I guess that's not true. It closes once we hit 50 people. We have space for 50
Okay.
in the facility we're using. So
And is there a reason for people to buy now?
reason for them to buy it now, yeah, to reserve their space. But
Well, other than
another,
that,
yeah, well, because we're limited to 50. So I guess
okay,
that would
so
be
there's some
the reason
scarcity
to buy
there.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if the spots close, I think, one thing you might, I mean, it's a little tricky to do at this point. We're kind of workshopping this live, but like
No, this is
doing some kind of
brilliant.
like early bird bonus in the future, or something like that, that incentivizes people to buy in that early window.
That's
I've seen that to be very effective. So
yeah.
maybe the first 2 weeks there's like make a lower pricing, and then the price goes up or something like that.
So that's a great point. So I have what's called the Workforce Training Fund. It's a grant by the state of Massachusetts. So local business owners can actually use the grant to fund the workshop. So coincidentally, that expires Monday, which has what I've been pushing for the last week, and that's what
Yeah.
led to 15 registrations, and probably have another 5 or 6 before Monday. So that's to your point. Yes, we've been using that, but
Yeah.
there's really no once that's done, then it's just going to go out to general public. There's no more using the grant, so people that want to attend are going to have to pay for the workshop.
Yeah. I mean, people need a reason to buy. So I love that you did that, because we can see the impact and the result of that, just having this deadline that's going away. I'd still push, like, for the rest of it, I'd push, how many seats you have left, and like really talk
Yeah,
about like the scarcity and the urgency around that, because there is
100%.
like a hard limit around 50. I would be like speaking very heavily about what we just talked about with the pain points, like really being able to meet people in that. Like, do you feel like, how much does it suck getting ghosted all the time? Are you ready
Yeah.
to change that? How much is it costing you, all of these sales calls that aren't closing? How many sales do you feel like you've missed out on over the last 3 months, 6 months, because your sales process isn't dialed in, or because you don't know how to follow up with people? How many sales are falling through the cracks? What's that costing you? How much income have you missed out on over the last 6 months because of that? How does it feel to not have clarity, to not know what to say, to stumble through a sales conversation and then get to the end of the call and have somebody, say, I need to think about it, and not know what to do?
I love it.
So this is messaging that focuses on pain as well as the cost of inaction. Like, what is this costing you? Really good messaging. As well as, you paint the other side, the B. You talk about like what's on the other side of that. It's the what does it feel like to,
So,
to have this
you
process?
know, so I want to that. So I appreciate you doing this, because that you just gave me a really great idea. And so what you're saying is 100%, on point. I want you to watch this. And here's what I'm thinking. So I created this short video, and I feel like the video, although I thought it was creative and clever in the messaging, but what I think it might be missing is the pain. And if I play it, I'm gonna see if I can. Let me see if I can
Yeah,
cue it
please
up,
do.
because it's on my landing page. And this is great, man. It's like live free coaching, bro. I
It's free
love this.
coaching.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think this is the best
uh,
too.
uh,
When your
Hold on. Let me
audience
see if I can pull
hears this.
this thing up.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
yeah.
hold on. Yeah, yeah. No, you can talk while I'm doing this. Sorry about that. I'm
I
thinking out
love
loud
doing
here.
interviews like this because, first of all, I appreciate your vulnerability in bringing this to the conversation, because I think a lot of hosts wouldn't. But I think it's so much more useful and valuable, hopefully, for you who's actually listening to this, to be able to hear how does this actually play out in terms of like a real life situation versus just like concepts that we could just talk about all day.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to watch this quick video, and then you're going to break it down for me. And
Okay.
as I've listened to you, I feel like I might have missed the mark, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Okay, hold on
Okay.
1 second. Present, screen share. Where is it? Huh. Why is it not showing it what I want? I'll try this. Okay, here it is. All right. Do you see the
I do.
workshop? Okay, you see the video?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Let me
Yes.
just press play. We can figure out how to press play here. Let me go back to the heck. Oh, here it is. All right.
I want you to picture you get a text message
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
first thing in the morning. It says log into your CRM and call John Smith. So you're like, I don't remember John Smith, but you log in and you see John Smith, and it was a reminder that was set 6 months prior. And then you look deeper and you see all the notes from your last conversation, and you give John a call and you have a great conversation with John. And then because of that call, you schedule an appointment. And then a week later, you close for a $12,000 contract on the spot from somebody you completely forgot about. Why did that happen? Because you had a sales system in place. The sales workshop we're doing on April 9th and 10th is the steps that will get you to a system like this. By the way, this is one of the strategies you're going to learn in this workshop. We're going to set you up to be extremely effective. The people that go through this workshop are typically seeing a 30% increase in sales in 90 days or less, guys. And by the way, if you're local here in Massachusetts, you're a business owner with less than 100 employees, you can take advantage of a grant that will pay for the event for you. So get down below. Space is limited. We're going to be down here in the Mercantile Center April 9th and 10th. And if you want to be able to log in the morning and call those prospects and those clients you spoke with 8 months before, a year before, 2 years. There's a client that I followed up for 3 years and then finally converted them. And honestly, I didn't even think about it until I was calling them, until the system reminded me to give them a call. So if I can do that, you can do that too. And we're going to show you exactly how. Just go down.
All right. So
Yeah.
So what? Well, let me get your thoughts first, and then I'll give you my thoughts after.
Cool. Absolutely. So I think there's a couple of things I really liked about it. The most impactful thing was when you talked about increasing sales by 30% in 90 days. That was when my ears perked up. I was like, that was a very effective line for me and very compelling to me. I like that you took more of like the desire angle. I mean, talking about like the outcome of being able to close more deals and being able to kind of tell that through like a story in the beginning. I thought that was unique, and it was a good way of illustrating the point versus focusing more on the process. So that was good to me. I think there's a couple things that could have made it stronger. I think the story felt like very convoluted in the beginning, and it took a long time to get to like what the actual result was. I think it would have been more effective if you started with pain and started by empathizing with people. It would have been like 10 times more effective. Like
that was my takeaway. There was
talking
no
about the
pain in it.
ghosting. Yeah, there was no pain because the thing is like, this kind of feels like a nice to have right now. Like the way that it's framed, it's like, how would you like to close more deals? But if it's like, how much money are you missing out on? Like, what is that costing you? The pain of like having all these people ghosting you and not like that's going to be so much more compelling to get somebody to be like, I need to actually go to this.
Yeah. Are you laying up at night looking at the ceiling frustrated while your wife's laying next to you and thinking about that guy that hasn't returned your call? Right? Like, it's funny, but you know, as soon as we started talking, I realized that there's no pain in the video. It's just like pleasure. Like, hey, this would be great if I could do this, but most people are like, oh yeah, I can't do that. I don't need to do that. You can keep doing that, right?
It comes off a little bit more like a nice to have. It's like, oh, that sounds interesting, but I'm not like, I need to buy this. Versus if you make me feel like the cost of here's all the deals I'm missing out on, here's the pain that's costing me, here's how embarrassing it feels to get on these calls and not know what to say and not know how to follow up. Here's all the money that is sitting in my pipeline that I literally it's falling through my fingers because I don't have this system that you're revealing in this workshop. That's going to be so much more impactful.
I love it, man. Thank you for that. That was cool. It's the first time I've done that. We have done about 400 and something, 450 episodes, I think, close to.
Good. I like doing that. It's fun.
Yeah, that was awesome, and it showed that you know your stuff too. So I appreciate that. so beyond so one of the mistakes I took from doing this is the fact that, I think there was no pain. There really wasn't any pain at all in any of the marketing. And listen, I mean, I'm a Cardone licensee, so I mean, I learned this stuff, but I think sometimes when we're doing it ourselves, we just forget,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of the other mistakes that you're seeing people make when it comes to to the messaging? Because it seems like we're talking more about the messaging today is what we're talking about.
Yeah. I would say one other big thing, and it's funny, I just made this mistake. I just ran a live training, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? And one of the things I love doing, by the way, this is an easy thing. If you want to get really good at this stuff, you hire me. That's one way to do it. The other way is go into ChatGPT. And what I did yesterday, so I ran this live workshop, and afterwards I downloaded the transcript from the workshop, and I went into ChatGPT and I said, pretend you're an expert marketer who's like world-class at running high converting webinars and presentations. And I want you to analyze this transcript for me that I just did of a live training and tell me the biggest things that I did well, as well as what needs to be improved. And it spit out a ton of super valuable stuff. And one of the things that came up, and it's funny to your point, like we know this stuff, but we still make these mistakes. One of the things that I did in this training that so many people do is probably one of the biggest mistakes is focusing on the process instead of the outcome or the result. And I think you actually did a really good job in your what I just saw, not focusing super heavy on the process. But the mistake is, regardless of what it is that you sell, chances are you're really excited about your way of working and what you do and how you help people. Like for me, I'm a marketer. I love marketing. I just have always had a passion for it. But the thing that I have to constantly remind myself of is the people I work with don't really care that much about marketing. Like marketing is a means to an end for a business owner. Why do people care about marketing? Because they want more clients, because they want to make more money, because they want to grow their business, not because they want to become like expert marketers. So the thing that I have to remind myself of is it's so easy to get super absorbed in the process and to talk about like all the in the weeds details of what I do and the systems and the methodologies and how I'm going to help people and what that all looks like. But I forget that to my ideal clients, what I do is a means to an end. This is something that's so important to remember. What you do is a means to an end for somebody else. So your messaging should always focus on the end. It should not be focused on the means. And I think most people focus way too much on the process. In other words, like going back to your training that you're running, it's like if you would have just in that video, you would have gone through like all the details of what you're going to cover and the system that you're going to share with people and all that stuff. It's like my eyes would glaze over because I'm like, I don't care about that. What do I care about? When you said that 30% increase in sales in 90 days, I was like, my eyes open, my ears perked up. I was like, that's what I want. I don't even care what this workshop is about. If you could just tell me that I'm going to have a 30% increase in sales, I'm there. Like, that's all I need to know. I don't need to know what I'm going to do. I just need to know the outcome. And I need to know that you see me in whatever I'm struggling with today, which is where I am today, the pain. So you talk about the pain, you talk about the what's on the other side of the pain after they go through whatever this experience is with you, and you spend 80%, 90% of your time talking about that. And then the thing in the middle is just, you kind of like gloss over it a little bit. That's the way I've seen it to be most effective.
So do you feel like you start with the pain first, or do you start with the like the 30% increase in sales in 90 days or less first?
Well, when you think about your buyers, the people who are actually buying from you, do you think that they are more motivated by increasing sales or by fixing the gaping holes in their sales process that are costing them leads and clients?
I think they're more motivated by pain is what's going to ultimately make them take action. So yeah, I think it would be the second, it would be the latter, because the gaping holes is what's causing them the pain, right?
Yeah. So I
so
think
that
that's the
answers
answer.
the question, is the story first, but a concise story that gets to the point. and digs the knife in a little bit and then says, by the way, here's your solution.
Right. And by the way, that's not the same answer that you're going to get in every niche. And I think it's really important to understand what you're selling and whether you're selling a painkiller or more of like an aspirational, like, you know, if you're selling like vacation cruises, I mean, most people like are more driven to buy a vacation cruise from a place of vision and possibility. And this, you know, you see all the cruise commercials and it's like, you see people on
That's
the
a good
beach
point.
and they're,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they're not like showing you the picture of the guy at his office desk burned out. You know, so they've figured out that their niche is more motivated by the desire, by the pleasure than they are by avoiding or eliminating the pain. So I think all of this really comes down to empathy. It's like, who are your people? Being able to understand where they are, how they see their world, and then being able to meet them where they are with the right message that's going to speak to them in a way that's going to be resonant for them.
Very good, very good. Hey, so I want to get into ethical and right. So you talked about having high integrity and ethical marketing. So talk to us
Yeah.
about that. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, this really started for me because when I was director of sales, you know, working with one of my best friends, I think a lot of the way that we were showing up, I really didn't particularly agree with. And we used to say things on landing pages like, "This is not a sales call," except it
Yeah,
was a
I
sales
love. Oh, it
call.
drives me crazy when people say that.
I'm like, why are you lying? Or like when I go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
like a
yeah.
webinar page and people are
Yes.
like, there's only 100 spots for the webinar. I'm like, this is a webinar, you know, don't lie to me.
Yeah.
So it used to drive me crazy, this stuff. And I still see it all the time in the online marketing world. And so my take on this is I have a couple of things I think about all the time with marketing. Number one is you tell the truth. So tell it how it is and be honest with people and treat people with, you know, respect. And you don't have to, you know, like if scarcity is real, use scarcity. Great. Like what you're talking about with your event, if I mean, there's only 50 spots, that's a real thing. And so we can talk about that. But if you're in a situation where you're telling people a lie just to make them to sign up for something, I think most people are savvy enough that they see that, and it destroys trust. The other thing I think about a lot with marketing is I think that marketing and sales, both marketing and sales, should mirror the way that relationships work in real life. And so many times in the online world, I see people do things that they would never do offline. And you can just think about like when you're writing a piece of content, to me, I think of it like I'm having a conversation with someone. This is me having a conversation with my ideal client. So if I close my eyes before I write a post and I just imagine like who that person is and the fact that I'm writing to them, what comes out is so much better. And it's so much more in alignment with how I would communicate with that person as if I was talking to them in person. I think the weird thing about online marketing is, you know, there's all sorts of weird stuff we do when we're writing copy or when we're writing posts, and it just becomes easy to feel disconnected from the fact that it is actually a conversation because you don't have that person right in front of you. So people say all sorts of stuff they would never say if they were in person, or they
That's
follow
right.
up in all sorts of weird,
That's
sleazy
right.
ways that they would never. If you just think about it, like, how would I communicate if I were talking to this person in real life? And forget the screen, forget the fact that there's, you know, this thing that's in between us. I think you're going to be so much more successful. And that's the thing that I've always tried to remember. And when I don't remember that, I get things wrong and it causes issues. So marketing is human. It's all about that human connection and remembering that in the way that we show up and what we do.
This is really good, man. I want to talk a little bit about AI, the technology side, because so many marketers now are using it, and there's the people are building agencies, and you can, I mean, you can see now, you get an email, as soon as matter of fact, I only have to see the title, subject line, and I know it was AI written, and then you open the templates, and it's not
Yeah.
just little, I mean, you can see this coming from big companies too now. So what are your thoughts on AI, and yeah. I'll just leave it as a open, pretty broad question for you to start.
Yeah. Well, I'm not anti-AI. I mean, I think AI in many ways it's going to change our world. It already is. And it's going to be the biggest shift that we've probably seen in our lifetime. But the way I see it playing out in the business world is there's really two things happening. And there's this kind of zigzag happening. And the zig is probably what 99% of companies and organizations are doing right now, which is how do we integrate AI more fully to create more efficiency in the way that we're communicating? How do we replace what used to be done with human beings with chatbots? How do we create, 10 times or 100 times more outreach messages? We used to, have an SDR on our team or someone who was doing, hand outreach messages. And now we can do it with AI and we can send 100 times more emails. So there's this kind of like volume approach that I think a lot of people are taking, where it's like, let's drop quality and let's just take more of a quantity type approach with communication. Like I can create 5 times more content with AI and I can just churn out, more content with ChatGPT. So let me just do that. Or let me send more outreach messages, more cold emails with AI. That's one end. And my opinion is that I think that's a race to the bottom, because you perfectly illustrated, the impact of that, because we can all kind of feel it, when you get an email like that. And so maybe you send 10 times more emails and you get the same response, but at a certain point, we just kind of drown in this noise.
Yeah.
Same thing with content. This is what's happening now too. So many people are using ChatGPT to just churn out social media content. It's like you read the posts and they just feel, you can tell it's AI. So that's one end. And then the other end is the race, what I would call the race to the top, which is how do we bring more humanity? How do we dial up the things that don't scale? The things that on the surface, you're going to be like, that doesn't make sense. Like, for example, in my business, I was running a large group program, doing like group coaching for the past several years. It took like 140 clients through it. It was a very successful program. We made like almost $1 million through that program. And after several years of running that program, I decided to shut it down and migrate my entire business back over to one-to-one coaching, which you might say, Jason, that sounds like the dumbest thing ever. Why would you do that? It doesn't scale. Maybe you're going to make less money. You can serve fewer people. Why would you
Definitely
do that?
going to make less money. Well, that's not true. Yeah, that's not necessarily
You
true.
could argue.
Yeah.
You could argue.
Yeah, no, I know. You could charge 10,000 an hour. You could certainly,
Yeah. But why am I doing that? To me, it's because I think in a world where more and more of our humanity is being replaced and outsourced and automated by chatbots and ChatGPT, there is a deeper desire for higher levels of intimacy and connection. That's why I love what you talked about with being really hands-on in your workshop and your training, because what I'm seeing is people are really like the move is you can either play the race to the bottom where everybody else is, or you can say, how can I appeal to the top 1% of my market who really desires like a super high-end, high intimacy experience, and I can charge a premium for that.
That's right.
And so I think there's businesses playing in both camps right now. My bet is on the latter. I think it's an easier game to play, and it's a game that far fewer people are playing, which is higher intimacy experiences, higher touch, more humanity, doing the things that don't scale, bringing more of you into your brand, your content, dialing up all of those things versus trying to outsource and automate and basically take them all out and automate them away.
Yeah, I agree with you, my man. I think it's amazing. I was also a member. I don't know. Do you know who Joe Polish is? You must know Joe Polish, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah. I was with the Genius Network for a year. Awesome group. Have you ever gone to any of their meetings?
No, I haven't.
No. Well, they have what's called the Genius Network, Joe Polish's group, and I did it for. I don't know why I did it. I did it the year Joe took sabbatical, so it's probably the dumbest year to do it because Joe wasn't around at any meeting. But I did it for a year, and it was an awesome experience. But I don't even know why I brought up that point. To be honest with you, now I completely lost my train of thought as to why I brought
It
that
sounds
up.
like maybe the intimacy of like being in person. And
so when I went there, I was charging $397 for a 30-minute coaching call. And then I had increased my prices to $1,000 for a 1 hour coaching call, or two 30-minute coaching calls, which I was excited about. When I went to the Genius Network, those guys charge between $2,500 to $10,000 for a 1 hour coaching call. And it's exactly what you just said, because they provide so much value in that time that they can charge whatever they want, essentially. And if the person doesn't want it, pay it, no problem. You're just not my person. And then you just go find the next person that can afford to pay you $10,000 an hour for your time.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to provide that much value is the point. So
yeah. I mean, I think there is always that. I think it's much easier to play at the top of a market than it is to play at the bottom. In order to play at the bottom, you got to have massive scale. And you look at companies like Walmart and Amazon who are playing that game, and there's so much infrastructure that's involved in making that work, versus you could make real good money playing in the top 1% of your market and charging ultra premium prices, having like a very high end offer and a high intimacy type of experience. And I think that those types of businesses are going to be better insulated against a lot of the shifts and changes that are happening, particularly with AI, than the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world, the folks who are playing at scale with more of a volume type play.
Absolutely. So I always ask everybody for a question. The question that you gave me was, what is the most important thing you learned from a life of entrepreneurship?
I think it's that entrepreneurship is really about service. Yeah, everything we've talked about today, to me, comes back to being able to step into somebody else's world, being able to meet somebody else where they are, instead of focus on ourselves. Because it's so easy to get caught in our own worlds. I do it too. It's like, I love my offers. I love what I do. I'm so obsessed with it that like I forget that like there's all these other people on the other side. These are people actually paying me. So to me, it's the ability to serve. It's the ability to deeply understand other people, who they are, what they want, and how to actually help them. I think that's the thing that I keep coming back to. And whenever I forget that, I make mistakes. I launch things that flop. Every offer I've ever launched that has failed, and there's been plenty of them, has always come back to, I would say 90% of the time, it's because I said, oh, I really want to launch this thing. Like, I feel excited about it, versus who are my people and what do they need? And it's the ability to continually go back to that and to continually like ask myself those questions, like, where are these people? What are they struggling with? How do they see their world? How can I actually help them and serve them and help them get to where they want to be? That's the basis of great marketing. That's the basis of great messaging. That's the basis of everything that we talked about. And that, I think, is really, when I look at every single successful entrepreneur I've ever mentored and worked with, that's what it comes down to, is like, people who are focused on others win. People who are focused on themselves don't.
I love it. I think for people, for you guys that listen today, I think you actually experienced live coaching. You also experienced me having an aha moment, right? An aha moment. Because like you said, that we all get into it. Like, I love the story I put out there, but there's another side of me that if I would have just slowed down, because as soon as you started talking to me, I knew exactly where you were going.
Yeah.
Right? I knew the message there. I knew the pain. I knew what to say, but I got so fixated on, oh my God, that's so great, in my video. And it just shows the importance of having somebody like you that I can now go and bounce this off and talk to. So why don't more people, Jason, go and get coaches and hire people to help them with this process?
Well, I can tell you what it was for me, because it took me a couple of years to figure this out. I mean, I've invested at least $200,000 into hiring mentors and coaches over the past few years alone. But the first few years of my journey as an entrepreneur, I was like the proud DIYer. I was the guy who was like, I'm smart. I can figure things out myself. I was watching a bunch of free YouTube videos, listening to podcasts like this. And, I I think I had a lot of stories that I was telling myself. I understood intellectually the idea of investing in yourself, but I hadn't really experienced it and wasn't living it. I had a friend of mine around that time who was running a very similar business as me. We were both making around the same amount of money. I remember one day he called me up and he was like, I just invested $30,000 into hiring my first coach. And I said, are you crazy?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, what, are you nuts?
That's what my
And I
wife said
watched,
to me when I
of
joined
course, yeah. I
Genius
mean,
Network.
if people
Yeah.
not in the world, they don't understand. So what was fascinating though was, that was my mindset at that time. I watched over the next few years as he continually made investments in himself. He scaled his business he was making around 6 figures at that time. He scaled to 3 million a year in sales it was probably 3 years from that first conversation. And I watched how he led his business and how he showed up. And one of the biggest differences between me and him was I was the DIYer and he was the guy who was continually investing and getting in the room with great people and learning and growing and having that humility to be like, maybe I don't know all the answers. There's great people out there who can help. And once I started modeling that in my own life, that was what took me from making 6 figures to scaling past over $500,000 a year in sales. It was just getting in the room like with great people like yourself, learning and growing. That's why you guys should go to the event that David's got going on. We'll do some free promo for you because it's you get in the room with great people like you. It's not magic, but you figured some stuff out. You've been doing this for a long time, and you just leapfrog over so many of those mistakes. But it takes a shift in mindset, I think, for most people to do that. And it's particularly challenging, especially when you're in a place where you're not making enough money, because the mindset that most people have when maybe they're not where they want to be in their business is, well, I don't have the money to invest. Why would I hire I'm not making enough money. I need to conserve. Like that's what happens for most people. Scarcity, right? And that the flip is like that's the exact moment you need the thing. It's like, so it's a hard shift, I think, for a lot of people to make, but continuing to do that again and again and again for me, unwiring the scarcity, stepping into that place where it's like I can feel more comfortable letting go of money because I trust there's always going to be enough. That the more I let money go, this is a big piece. Is like entrepreneurs, sometimes we want to hoard, we want to hold on.
Yeah.
But actually, the more I can let go, the more money is going to flow to me. And that has continually served me. But it does take that shift in mindset, I think, for many people.
Well, I'll give you an amen on that one, brother, because I'm a tither. That said, how do our listeners, people, if you listen to this, anybody that's listening, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can go to jasonmoss.com. That's a good place to go. That's kind of like my hub for all things what we do. We got a great YouTube channel with a ton of free content there. Some of my best resources, trainings. There's some info on my website about, for online business owners and just entrepreneurs in general who are looking to scale and grow. We've got some coaching spots open there. You can learn more about that on my site. But our YouTube channel is great for a ton of free content too. If you're just wanting to check out some free stuff, that's available for you as well.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm definitely going to connect to your YouTube channel. We'll get connected to you. And I just want to say thank you, man. I appreciate your time. I'm grateful we did this. I know we went, back and forth a little bit to get it going. And again, that was my fault. And but I'm glad we made it happen, man. It's super impactful.
Likewise.
I think
I'm looking forward to seeing the next version of the video too.
Yeah, amen. I'm gonna bang it out this weekend. So final question, man. People that listen to this, if they just jumped on right now, first off, go back and listen from the beginning. But if they don't have time to do it right now, what's the one thing you want them to walk away with?
I would say the next time that you're selling something, take 5 minutes before you start promoting it. Sit down, open a blank document on a computer, and answer these questions. Number one, who is this for? Most important question you can ask. Number two, where is this person today? What pain are they experiencing? What are the challenges or problems that they have? And then number three, they go through this offer, they do this program, what's on the other side? How is life going to change for them as a result? Those three questions, who is it for? What's the A? Where are they today? And where are they going to be on the other side? Those will save you so much pain when it comes to selling things. And it will make it so much more, anything you sell, infinitely more effective. So I think that's the most useful, practical takeaway that anyone can get from this interview today.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you. Thank you again for being on the show.
Yeah, you got it.